Want an easier way to manage your Microsoft Teams call? Are you looking for an alternative to using all those keyboard shortcuts? Stay tuned and I'm going to show you an easy way to handle all of this, plus something special when you watch the whole video. Welcome to another edition of Tech Bites with Ron Nutter, your home for all things relating to smart home technology. In this episode, we're going to talk about how to manage your Microsoft Teams calls with something called Stream Deck. And if you haven't heard of Stream Deck, oh, are you in tune for something that's really going to be helpful? Hi, I'm Ron Nutter, and we're going to be working on this together. This content is also available as an Amazon Flash Briefing or podcast. Please go to techbiteswithronnutter.com for more information. For any items mentioned in this episode, there are affiliate links available in the description. If you click on these links, I will get a small commission, but that won't affect the price you pay for the item. If you haven't already subscribed to the channel, please click on that subscribe button now and enable notifications. If this video helps you or provides value, please click on that like button. Thumbs up. Now, here's what we're going to be covering. First of all, what is Stream Deck? And if you've not heard of it before, that's not a big deal. If you know somebody who's a gamer or somebody who does video like I do, we know about Stream Deck. It's very useful, but it's more than just for those applications. And Elgato is starting to find that out. We're going to talk about installing and configuring the Stream Deck software. And then we'll show how to test the Microsoft Teams integration. And then when you watch all that, I've got a little surprise for you. So let's go ahead and get started. Well, now we're going to talk about the one thing I know is burning in everybody's mind. Hey, Ron, what's Stream Deck? Well, I tell you what, Stream Deck is a very interesting little product because it is well worth the price of what you're looking at. So if we just take a spin here and you're going to see, this is the main Stream Deck. Now they've got one bigger than this one, but this is the mainstream or full-size Stream Deck, and then you've got the Stream Deck Mini. This Stream Deck Mini is it's less than $100 depending on where you're getting it, and it should be about $70 when the supply chains are working the way it should. And the interesting thing is, either one of these, think of them, don't be worried about the buttons that don't have anything in them. Think about those buttons being programmable to what you want to do. So basically it all is an extension of the keyboard. So if we go through here and look, then you're going to see this is what Stream Deck looks like when you first plug it in. And basically it's dumber than a box of rocks to start with because it's got no software to drive it. So that's what we're first going to do, is get the software up and running. And I'll show you through some of the configuration. There, basically, we got to do some keyboard shortcuts. We'll program that into Stream Deck, and then it's just a matter of you're getting used to working with those keys and finding out which keys that you'll want to do, and then I'll show you the real secret sauce behind all this. So let's go ahead and get started with the installation of the software. Now, to save a little bit of time, I'm gone ahead and downloaded the Stream Deck software. And this is something that periodically you may need to update, but nothing that you haven't already done if you're dealing with Windows or a Mac. So we'll go ahead and double click on that. And if this is on a company laptop, make sure you've got permission from the company to do it, and that you have admin rights to do it. Shouldn't need admin rights, but you want to rather err on the side of caution. So we'll click on next, and we'll accept the terms of the license agreement like we have a choice. Accept, next, install. Okay, and it's done just that quick. So here's what it's going to look like when it first comes up. And this is the part that you really want to get comfortable with, because when you're working with the Stream Deck software, don't let the interface get you confused, because keep in mind, all you're really doing is when you're in the software, you're taking a live view of what you're actually going to see on the Stream Deck Mini, or if you've got the bigger Stream Deck. And depending on the amount of calls you're doing, you may want to go get the big one. But that's a conversation that you can have for another day. So it's very straightforward. What you'll do is we first want to cancel not cancel, but we want to delete the welcome button, because do we all need another welcome button? I don't know about you, but I don't think so. So let's delete that one. then what you'll want to do, let me get this minimized, we're going to be doing what are called hotkeys. So to do this, you're going to need to pull up the reference, and I will have this in the show notes. There's a few things that you'll want to start out with, and that's going to be my favorite, toggling mute, or when you need to cough and you don't want half the company hearing you cough, toggling video. There's other ones where you can accept calls, but we'll start with just the basics. So to toggle mute is Control-Shift-M. So what we'll do is we'll shift back over here, and we'll just drag it over here to the side, and that way you can see this a little bit easier. Now notice if you're doing desktop app versus web app, both should be applicable, but there may occasionally be some differences, like the video cannot be toggled when you're in the web app from a keyboard shortcut. So what we'll do is we'll go over here and we will do a hotkey. We'll just drag this over there, and then we will call this mute. We will click on assign, and then we'll go over here and make sure it's Control-Shift-M, making sure we're still in focus in that window. So Control-Shift-M, and you saw it as it did it on the keyboard. Then we will want to be able to toggle view, so that's Control-Shift-O, not 0, but O. So we will take another hotkey and drag it over here, and we will call this video. And then we'll go down here to assign is Control-Shift-O. So if that's all you do, I mean, that's certainly something that will get you up and running. Now let's go ahead and actually test and make sure this works. Now I'm not going to be able to toggle the video necessarily, but we can certainly see the status indicators change. So let's switch over and get Teams into a test call. Now, to get Microsoft Teams into a test call is not one of the most intuitive things in the world, but let's go ahead and make that happen. So what you'll want to do is go into that. I'm using the desktop client. You click on where your initials or your name are up top there, and then we will click on Settings, and then Devices, and then make a test call. So they buried the lead, as news people would say. So let's go make a test call, and see, by default it's got everything already in place. So if I click and if I coordinate all the buttons right here, now you notice the status of audio at that point. All right, now I will switch over and hit the mute button and switch back, and see now the mute button has actually engaged. And if I tap it again, we're good to go. If I hit the video button, which should disable video, okay, it says no camera found, but you see the basic premise of how this is going to work. And I just don't have an extra camera on that one, but the keyboard macros or shortcuts is the best way you can go about doing it. Then what we can do here is just reference when you decide what you want to do, but you'll have the list of here for meetings and calls, messaging there. That's why I'm not going to go that far into doing it. You've seen the basic process to get things up and running. So figure out what you want to do. I would start off with just muting the audio and disabling your video camera to start with. And then once you kind of see how much you are using other keyboard shortcuts, and you may have to translate what you're clicking at in the Microsoft Teams client to being what you will click onto with the keyboard. So it's just a case of trial and error, and you'll get this figured out. So not a problem. So now let's get on to the secret sauce I was teaching you about earlier. As you are installing your latest smart home device, grab a copy of my smart home checklist. This will help you record information about each device as you set it up. This will prove helpful when you need to find out where to get the firmware updates from or support on that device. You will be subscribed to my email list in exchange for the checklist. I won't share, rent, or sell your information to anyone. I was teasing you a little bit earlier about an extra thing to try, and with you're doing all this to set up Stream Deck to help you be more productive, why don't you take it to the next step and get some of your smart bulbs up and running? Now, in this case, this is a Phillips Hue bulb. So we're going to go ahead and step through the process. If you saw the video I did on Zoom, I showed you how to do LiFX. This time I'm going to show you how to do Phillips Hue. So let's go ahead and get started. I'm going to go over here and plug the light bulb in, which immediately came on. Then what we'll do is we'll switch over here to ATEM Mini, and we will set something up on a service called IFTTT. And it stands for if this and that, and it allows third-party systems to talk to others. So we will click on Create, and the condition we're going to use is something called webhooks. And this is something, it will make more sense while we go on. Basically, what this does is this is going to allow you to send a web request through Stream Deck to turn the bulb or turn a bulb on and off, maybe do some dimming. Again, you can take this one as far as you want to. So we'll click on webhooks, and it says allows you to receive a web request. Okay, so and just to make this easy, I would go with something bulb underscore on. Now, if you end up using more than one bulb or bulb dash on, don't leave spaces in the middle because that can make things potentially a little fun on troubleshooting. So we'll click create trigger. Now we'll click on add, and then we'll type Phillips Hue. Okay. Now at this point, okay, it's remembering apparently that I've done something. Okay, now there's two ways you can do the bulbs. You can either turn lights on and off, so that's an option. You use two keys for that one. So if you're on the Stream Deck Mini, you're burning in maybe an extra key you may not want to. Now the other one is we can click toggle lights on and off. And if you've got a color bulb, well, you can see where this goes. You can have all sorts of fun. So we'll click on toggle bulbs. Oh, it just was letting me get to the head of the line here. So we'll click on connect, and United States, and we will click, let's see, sign in here. Okay, come on. Oh, there we go. I just wasn't seeing the sign in part. So we'll click sign in. Okay, now we've got to grant Phillips Hue permission. Okay, well, that's kind of understandable. And now it's going to get the two linked. Now it's going to ask about all the different bulbs, and this is the one, don't make fun of the messenger. I stole this one out of the kitchen. So we'll call it kitchen, and we'll create action. And that says, okay, then Phillips Hue toggle on and off. And we'll click continue. You probably want to turn on notifications to start with, just so that as you're getting used to working with this, you know when the process is actually completed on IFTTT's end. In time, you'll probably want to turn it off because this will have a tendency to get a little bit annoying. So we'll click finish. Then what we'll do is we got to do a little bit of a keyboard shortcut here and call this webhooks. Okay, didn't do that one right. The requested page doesn't exist. All right. Story of my life, didn't do that one. Services, and we'll go down here. We'll do it the other way. Webhooks. Now, this is the page you need to know about, and let me get my ugly mug out of the way here. The documentation button is what's going to make this all work. So we'll click documentation, and this gets into, this is what gets you to the back end to make it all work. So you click under event here and make sure that I see the cursor in there, and we'll type bulb underscore on. Now you can test the bulb at this point, and it's a good thing to do it just to make sure you get everything right. Just click on test it. And if you notice, our little friend here, well, I can't get it into the camera view just right. It is now totally off. So that's, we needed to know that that was going to work. So now we'll go back here and we'll go through the process of copying this. We only have to copy the HTTPS line. So we'll right click, go to copy, go down here to Stream Deck, and then we will drag, we'll click on website and drag it over, and I'll put it down here in the lower row. Now this one we can call it anything you want to. This is just a text label here, or instead of calling bulb on, we'll do it light on. Now URL, we will, if I can get the right keys working here, we'll paste the URL in here. Now it's important on this step right here that you say access in background. Otherwise Stream Deck is probably going to get a little confused and things may not work as expected. So once you've done that, and we can switch over here to demo cam, and you can see, okay, we can call it light on, or we just call it light. So we'll tap that, and you see the light came on, and tap it and it goes back off. So there are, as another little step I want to show you, and this is something that if you start having a lot of these buttons on the main page, you're going to run out of button space if you're using the mini. And that's not a criticism, just something to keep in mind. So what we'll do is we'll go down here to default profile. We'll click on new profile, and then we will click edit. I should have done that differently. And we'll just right click on there, and we will call it rename, and we'll just call this Phillips. And get that screen closed out. So if we do here, then okay, there's Phillips. I renamed the wrong one. Story of my life. Okay, edit profiles. So if we call this one Teams, like I did initially, and then go down here to profile 1, and we'll call that Phillips. All right, so we've got that. So all we've got to do is I'm gonna make life easier. I'll just copy that instead of doing that whole cut and paste again. And we'll go down here to Phillips, and then we can do paste. We'll delete that button because I need to do something else. Yes, I know, delete. Now we have to get into Stream Deck, and we've got to make what we call a switch profile. That sounds worse than it is. So we'll call this one Teams. And if you end up having configurations for multiple web clients, then, or multiple conferencing clients, that's fine. Now we've called it Teams. Profile is, then we'll take it and back up here and go to Teams. So what happens when we do that? I'll go here and just press the button on Stream Deck. Guess what? It puts us back to the Teams menu. So we'll make one other setting here, and we'll switch profile. Yes, we're going to replace the action, and we'll call this Phillips. And next profile will be Phillips. So what you can see here, let me switch over to demo cam, and you see this in pretty much real time. So there's the configuration we've got so far. So if I tap on Phillips, then it shifts to where we can turn the light on, and you see it comes on, and then we've got it back off if we want to, and we'll hit the Teams button, and we're back to the Teams menu. So you can see there's really quite a bit that you can do with this. There's all sorts of things now that, when you've got your setup where you're working from home, that you can have not only your work area, but you can have something that makes it a little more user-friendly. So we've gone through the process of showing you what it's going to take to get your keyboard macros to translate to what Stream Deck software is going to need to know about. And then I've taken it to where you can get some of your smart home stuff on here. And the nice thing with doing If, now the free account is limited you to 3 devices. So if you want to go beyond that, there's a reasonable cost to allow you to go beyond that. But if you only got a device or 2, this at least gets you an idea of, is increased involvement with If something you want to do, or if you're just happy to get a few things done. So really, that's got everything up and running. We've got it all in place. So that's gotten you to where you can control Microsoft Teams with Stream Deck, as well as some of your smart home devices to make your life just a little bit easier during the day. If you're watching this on YouTube, you're going to see videos on the screen that are similar to the one you've just watched, or other content that YouTube thinks you might be interested in. If these videos help you or provide value, please click on that like button, thumbs up. If you haven't already subscribed to the channel, please click on subscribe now and enable notifications. We'll see you in the next video. Thanks for watching.